Welcome to Glow Lane with Sally Jean, a space of celebration, curiosity, and wisdom. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Glow Lane, where I celebrate the wisdom of incredible people across the world. And today I'm joined by Berni Woods. Welcome, Berni.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so chuffed when you asked me because we actually haven't met yet, even though we live in the same country. There's a few kilometers between us.
There absolutely is. But you know what? Meeting you online was such a joy. And I want to share with you why I've asked you to join us here on Glow Lane.
Oh, thank you.
I have asked you to be part of Glow Lane because when I met you online, you just have this beautiful, joyous, authentic, and beautiful presence and beautiful energy that just shines out into the world. And your energy and the way that you stand for holistic healing is the type of people that I love to have in my space. And so I was really excited to learn about the work that you do and wanted to invite you on here because I think that the world needs to hear what you have to say.
Oh, you beautiful thing. You might make me cry.
That's all right.
It's so lovely. I feel the same about you. I think, in the world of online, you very easily decipher somebody very quickly by the words and the way that they show up. So, and that's why we've connected. So, yeah, I feel very blessed and grateful that you're in my world as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, to begin with, I would love you to share with people who you are, what you do, what do we need to know about Berni?
So there's not a lot to me, honestly. Like I turned 50 18 months ago. Things kind of went a little bit sideways. I've got two beautiful teens. I've become a professional dog sitter in my, last 12 months. Life has been, so colourful in so many ways, but I kind of feel like I've found my groove back into sort of the fitness and wellness space. Being a personal trainer back in the day, and my body's needing that extra support, holistically through natural wellness. So, yeah, so I feel like I'm just, yeah, I've got my groove now. So life is very fulfilling, which is, you got to live with passion and purpose, right?
Absolutely. And I really love seeing you online with doing your exercise. The other day, I think you were boxing, and I was like, yes, go girl. It's
Oh my
amazing what
gosh.
you've been doing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely something that's been a part of my everyday since my
Mm,
20s. Like, I'm not kidding.
mm.
I've not literally missed too many days since I got hooked. Actually, it was probably primary school, but yeah, so it's just part of life. It's like brushing your teeth. You work out or you do some form of exercise. So
Yeah, I love that when you say it's just part of my life. It's like brushing my teeth. And I think that's a really important point about holistic well-being and well-being in general is, making it part of your everyday life. And I think part of that is doing things that you really love, because when you really love something, then you're more likely to want to do it. And I guess, being a personal trainer for so long and, being into fitness, when I asked you about well-being, that was one of the first things that you put down. And you also wrote about, the changes in perimenopause. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that for women out there who might be going through perimenopause and, wanting to be into that fitness space but not sure what to do.
yeah, I tell you what, I was one of those very naive women who thought that it was never going to get me because
Mm,
I'm a relatively healthy person and I exercise, 6 days a week at least. And when I turned 50, I had this goal that I wanted to be the fittest, strongest, happiest, healthiest person. And I achieved that. But I'm not kidding you, Sally. The next day, my hot flushes started. Like everything just went south. And I'm just thinking,
mm,
hang on a minute, like, how can you do this? My body's turned against me. And I started to freak out because, I started putting on a couple of kilos, and, these hot flushes were so bad that it was changing the way that I managed myself, I suppose,
mm.
because, yeah, it's just not a nice thing to experience. And then not too long after, my father passed away. So my body just took another level up from there to, I didn't know how to function anymore. I wasn't sleeping. I was having heart palpitations, and I think it was menopause on steroids. That grief just amplified everything. And I
Mm.
felt lost. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know how to get me back. The gym wasn't cutting the mustard anymore. I didn't have the energy. I pushed myself to go because I knew that that was like my medicine.
Mm,
mentally, but also physically as well. So, I think for people out there that are going through menopause, like it's your body just asking for help. So it's just sitting with it, listening and finding something that works for you because nothing stays forever. That's one thing that I've learned, particularly as a parent, good or bad, it will have its end point. So just always give your body that grace that it's just going through a phase. So you've just got to find the things that suit you to support you through that time because, it is under pressure every single day from so many different things, as we discussed earlier. So, it's easy just to go, right, that's it, I'm giving up, whatever. But now's the time not to be like that. And yes, we're aging, but that's a part of life. It's giving us finding the right tools to help support your body to age well
mm,
and
mm,
live long and healthy because life's very, very short and but can be very, very long if you are unhealthy. And that's definitely something that's a massive thing for me is I don't want to be chair bound when I'm elderly. I want to
mm,
still be fit and strong and healthy and active in my 70s and 80s and heaven forbid 90s. So I think, as we spoke about earlier as well, it's like you got to start yesterday.
mm.
Don't
Yeah.
don't wait until your retirement or, Monday. You've got to start today. Like your body deserves that support from you, however that looks like for you.
Mm. There's a few things I love about what you just shared, listening to your body, doing what is right for your body. And I think that's the really important thing is that when we outsource these things to other people, we're actually not listening to our own body. So there's no one way to exercise. There's no one way to go through perimenopause or menopause. There's no one way to do anything. There's many, many paths. And so it's about listening to what's your body is telling you and what feels right for you. And, starting with things that, feel doable because sometimes we can jump into these massive goals or these, huge tasks or huge programs or things that
Yeah.
they're just too much for us. And so, like you said, we need to start today. We need to start yesterday, but
Yes.
start where we're at and what our body is asking for and what it needs. And if we can actually, this is the work that I do with women is to support them to be able to listen to their intuition, to be able to listen to what their body needs, because that's when we can have that information about our body and what it needs to be able to do to be strong and fit and healthy. And when we listen to our own body, then we can trust ourselves then. We can trust those cues that we keep getting back from our body because we're actually listening and tuning into ourselves.
Exactly. And yeah, I like what you said there also about bite-sized bits because as women and men are the same, you just, this whole cold turkey thing and, doing suddenly this, full-on gym program on Monday that you
Mm,
don't go on Tuesday, like just do little bits of,
mm,
1% every day, they say, to just change the trajectory of where you're headed. Because if
mm,
you go too fast, too quick, too strong, you're going to fall in the ass and you're going to go backwards. So,
mm,
it's giving yourself that time to warm up, and to get stronger because it doesn't happen overnight. It's a work in progress. So, it's often, when you do look back and you just think, oh, actually, I used to live that and now I live this. So, it's making those changes as well, I think is important too,
mm,
so that you
mm.
can look back and go, wow, I've actually come quite a long way.
Yeah, and I love before what you said about your experience of, one day you're telling yourself, I'm going to be the fittest, strongest, and then the next day your body goes, hang on. Um,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
I think what you said there was about, you kind of had to pivot. And that's one of the questions that I'd asked you before doing this session was something that you were proud of yourself for. And you said that you were proud of yourself for adapting to change and acclimatizing to change. And I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit about the impact that that's had on your life in a positive way.
Yeah, I think I've always been the person that will advocate for moving and eating well and
Mm,
sleeping. Like they're the three things. But you need more than that. And I've recognized that because my body suddenly didn't respond to that. Like it's
Mm,
more than that. So, when you start looking for things, or if something comes into your life for you to investigate, don't just turn it away, have a look at it. And because it might just be that thing that you need, that can just be like we talked about before, it's the piece of the pie,
mm,
there's all different things. It's not just one thing. So it's just being open and adapting is key, because your body's changing. So what you did yesterday might not work tomorrow. So
mm,
just always be open to, making change to get where you want to go. If you want to live long and actively, well, then you've got to implement stuff, because, like I said, what worked yesterday is not going to work tomorrow, maybe.
mm,
So, yeah, it's definitely adapting to change has been the biggest thing for me, because I've not really been in the wellness space per se, because
mm,
I've always just been, whatever you put on your plate and whatever you're moving should be enough. However, our environment's changing too.
mm.
So
Yeah.
the foods that we're eating, they're not as nutritious as they used to be. The stuff that's falling from the sky, the toxicities that we have in our water, there's just so much that, once you sort of start learning about all of that, you just think, oh my God, it makes you wonder how your body's functioning at all.
Well, we're incredibly
So
resilient, aren't we, considering
yeah,
everything? Mm,
yeah. So
mm,
yeah, it's really interesting to be open enough to learn about new things, because it can open up a completely whole world to you that you just didn't even know existed. And that's kind of, where I found myself now, is in a
mm.
world that I never knew existed. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And I think we'll talk a little bit more in a moment about the work that you're doing. But one of the things that you had spoken to me about earlier was also, shifting into different spaces later on in life, and the sense of the imposter syndrome that comes along with that. And I know this is something that so many people experience. And I'm wondering if you have a little tip
Yeah.
about how you manage and overcome that when it arises.
Do you know what? It's talking to people like you who see value in what you do, because no certificate can, life experience is one thing and
Mm,
having a certificate's another thing. And yes, back in the day, I had, the certificates for, PT, all that sort of stuff. But because I'm not registered now, I kind of in my brain feel like, well, who am I to
mm,
preach? So I think more kind of the stuff that I put online is more like, well, this is my life. Um, I'm just leading by example.
mm.
I'm 51, so I've led a life, that I've got the experience to know what's working for me. And, if I can inspire somebody along the way to follow along, then, I kind of feel like that's, that whole passion and purpose thing that I was talking to you about. It's like, well, if she can do it, why can't I? And it's so
Mm.
true. So I guess the imposter syndrome is more from my own, insecurities, I suppose, that, I feel like, who am I to preach? In a way, do you know what I mean? But I think
Yeah,
at
I
the end of
do.
the
Yeah.
day, it's all experience, and, it's just sharing, what has worked, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think, when you're sharing because you see the benefit and you want other people to experience that, then that comes from
Yeah.
a really pure place, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. Now, I asked you a question, what would some advice be that you give to your younger self? And you replied with, don't care about what other people think, which I love. If you can dream, you can do it, and speaking kindly to yourself. And I'm just wanting you to tell us a little bit about how that makes a difference in your life, and how people can employ that for their own life.
Yeah. And it's easier said than done. It absolutely is. And I get that. But I look at my soon to be 14-year-old daughter, and I know what cogs are turning in her head. And I just want her, because she's the most stunning person.
Mm,
And I know my mum would have felt that way about me as well. So it's like you want so much for, your friends or your siblings or your kids to not have that personal roadblock, because nobody really, you know, you shouldn't worry about what other people think, because if they're
mm.
not important to you, then why should it be important to you? if it's not important to them, why should it be important to you, and vice versa.
Mm,
So I don't know. I think there are a lot of limiting beliefs that a lot of us carry, and it's probably got nothing to do with anyone else but yourself. So it's having those days where you do feel strong and confident to really just dig deep and show up, because it's exercising that muscle,
mm,
like, so for me, I really don't like doing short videos. I really don't. But the days that I feel strong, I step up and I get to work, because I
mm.
just think if I don't utilize that energy at the time, I'm never going to be able to keep that muscle working. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
just showing
absolutely.
up and showing yourself that you're strong enough to do it. Because when it's like going through a horror house, they say, once you've gone through, you come out the other end and it's like, oh, that wasn't that bad after all. So
Yeah,
it's
I've already done it. I can do it again.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally. So
yeah.
yeah.
And I think, if our younger selves had that advice, and any younger people who are out here watching this, or anyone really, taking on that advice, that can make a really big difference to how you show up for yourself, and recognizing that people are looking at each other through their own lenses. It doesn't mean that
Yes.
that's who you are and what you are, and that people are always going to look at you through their own lens. And there's nothing you can actually do about that. You just keep shining in your own brilliance, and you'll attract the people that are right for you. And, that's the most important thing, is being authentic.
100%. I couldn't
Yeah.
agree with you more. Yeah, that's
Mm,
beautiful. And it's like talking to people like you that see that, because that gives you confidence. I
mm,
don't think we praise each other enough.
mm,
There's so much negativity online. We don't need any more. We need to uplift each other and give each other that confidence, because there's people hiding in their own bodies that don't realize how brilliant they are.
mm. Yeah. And that's what I always talk about with my work. I'm actually going to do a post about it. I see my work as shining a light on other people's light, to help it to glow even more. And I think, as a child, I was bullied a lot by other girls, and that's been an experience that many people have had through their lives. And I think, being able to be at this age and wanting to celebrate other women,
Yeah,
and help them to see their own brilliance, that's so important to me. So,
yeah, that's
um,
beautiful.
now let's talk about your amazing work, because I would love to finish up with, you telling the people watching or listening, what is the work that you're doing around frequency, and what are the benefits? And yeah, just share a little bit more about that for us if
Yeah,
you
thank
be
you.
able
Yeah,
to.
so this was the pivot that I didn't realize I needed in my life. Like I said, with perimenopause, I was at a loss, and I didn't want to be taking anything that wasn't natural, because
Mm,
that's just not for me. I did go to the doctors because I was out of sheer desperation. I was sobbing in the consulting room saying, fix me, because I don't know what's broke. I
mm,
don't know how to fix it. And she suggested antidepressants. And I'm just like, oh my God, you just did not say that. So, one thing led to another, frequency fell into my lap, and it just changed. It completely changed my life. I was a little bit of a skeptic, because I wasn't really in the wellness space. So I'm like, okay, I need to see whether or not this works or not. So I got some blood work done before and after. Results are amazing. Naturopath was like, oh my God, results are amazing. But it just got me back to feeling me again. I
mm,
gained 7 kilos worth of inflammation, and that was just through stress. And stress is the silent killer that we all don't recognize or realize how bad it is for your body.
mm,
So I feel like I've really come across a gold mine for people to simply use something that they don't have to go to the doctors for, they don't need a prescription for, they can literally sit watching Netflix if they want to, feet on this device. It, reduces inflammation, helps support your nervous system. It supports bone density, muscle tissue regeneration. Like, there is a suite of things that this frequency does that has just literally arrived on our doorstep a year ago. So it's very, very new to the world. And a lot of people are going, what? So what? Hemp? What's that? So, again, as I was saying before, when something crosses your path, there's a reason for it. So
mm,
don't dismiss it quickly, because you might just find that it's the thing. And that's what I did with this. And like I said, it's changed my life, and it's changed thousands and thousands of people's lives all across the world. And I like it because it's natural. I don't,
Mm,
it's like I said, it's not prescription based. So that for me is my health insurance for me to live a
mm,
long, healthy life. So to
And I know
really,
you've been trying to get me to jump on one, and
I have,
our paths
yes,
haven't crossed yet, but I know they
no,
will. I know they will,
yeah,
and I'm looking forward to trying it.
definitely. Yeah, no, I can't wait to get your feet on it, because you are so intuitive to your body as well, it's just going to blow your mind. Some people don't really feel too much, and that's
Mm.
normal. But I know for you that you'll just be like, I can't wait, and I have to be there. I will fly over if somebody in your town ends up getting a machine. I'll definitely have to be there.
Well, I was going to tell you, if you do come to Melbourne, because I'm 3.5 hours away from Melbourne, like I'll meet you there. Like I've sort of
Gotcha.
been planning to kind of watch where you're going and see if we can
Oh,
our
brilliant.
paths can
Okay.
cross. But
I'll
I
keep
also
you.
might be in Adelaide next year, so that's a possibility too. But
Yeah,
I know it will happen.
it will happen. Oh, the stars will be aligning. Absolutely. So no, I very much look forward to that day.
Yes, and
Yes.
I might have to do a whole other interview with you on the day when that happens, actually.
Oh
Maybe we
yeah,
can do another
we're live
interview.
broadcasting.
That's a good idea, actually.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to pop your details at the end of this video, and when we share it, we're going to share the links to the work that we're both doing. And I want to say thank you so much for sharing really genuinely and really honestly with us today. And I'm sure that there's going to be many people watching that get a lot out of listening to your journey and your wisdom that you've shared with us. So thank you so much, Bernie. I really
Thank you,
appreciate you
beautiful
being here.
lady. I very much appreciate you.
Thank you for joining me, Sally Jean, on Glow Lane. If you'd like to connect more, feel welcome to be in touch. And remember, just like the moon, you are whole no matter what phase you're in.